Cyclone Ialy affecting the coast of East Africa as it makes its push for the equator on today's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for May 21st. Cyclone Ialy is still the only active tropical cyclone, and it is continuing to defy everyone once again. Not far from hurricane status, in fact, as it gets closer to the coast of northern Tanzania and Kenya. It could conceivably reach the equator as a remnant low. Dare we say it could still be a tropical cyclone by then? We'll have to see. Well, it's 11 days until Atlantic hurricane season, and there's no areas of interest here to look at right now, which is good news, although there is a fat moderate risk in effect for the severe weather in the United States today. What else is new? Day 7 of the Eastern Pacific hurricane season, and there is one or two disturbances there, but they haven't been marked. There's no real chance of them really gaining any momentum as they move towards the west-northwest. In the Western Pacific, we have a 40% chance, and a very large one because of its extended track forecast, and it is likely to continue through the Philippine Sea. This is the Invest 93W, moving northwestwards through Palau possibly, and then grazing the coast of the Philippines. And now a 50% chance for the Bay of Bengal area of interest. It has been tagged Invest 99B, and it is looking like it's a little bit more likely that it could become a tropical cyclone in just a few days. And then we have Cyclone Ialy there, which is just off the coast of Africa. We'll be taking a proper look at that shortly, but it is looking pretty decent with winds of 65 miles per hour and an estimated pressure of 990 millibars. It's certainly gone for a lot longer than we expected, still moving slowly. So here it is right now. It is just 250 kilometers from Pemba. 277 from Mombasa, Kenya, 300 from Lamu, 359 from Zanzibar City, and 484 from Kismayo in Somalia. And it could indeed track that far north, and we're watching that, of course, on our automated stream as well on the Force 13 YouTube channel. But this system is still moving northwestwards, if not west-northwestwards, actually. So we can't rule out that this storm is just going to keep going until landfall. So here it is on satellite imagery, and my goodness, it looked pretty good, didn't it, earlier on with an eye feature, although the satellite estimates weren't particularly wooed by that. The infrared appearance isn't quite as good. There it is, and you can see that little eye appeared for a short while, but it has been consumed again. Those cloud tops aren't particularly impressive either, which is why we're keeping it below hurricane strength. Now this is the North Indian Ocean, and you'll see not just one but two little rotations there on either side of India. Models have been a little bit interested in that one in the west, in the Arabian Sea, but it doesn't look like that's going to develop. But the one on the right, of course, in the Bay of Bengal, already starting to become apparent on this satellite imagery with some rotation. Here's the Western Pacific system over the Micronesian islands right now, and eventually tracking towards Yap and Palau. It could be dropping quite a bit of rain over those areas, but at the moment it still looks very disorganized. But I must say it is a little bit better than what we've been seeing in the last few days, isn't it? Here's some more floater imagery of Cyclone Ialy there, and you just have a look at its movement. It did move a little bit west-northwest during that eye period, but in general the movement probably smoothed over the 6-hour or 12-hour period there is probably still northwest. Slowly heading towards the coast of Kenya. Its movement at the moment is only about 6 miles per hour, and it's been oscillating quite a bit, anywhere from 3 to about 10 miles per hour. And this is the Bay of Bengal system, already looking decent with some rotation there at the low levels. I'm a little bit surprised it's managed that so soon, and that is certainly a sign that we could be seeing some development on the way. So models are pretty sure about this becoming a tropical cyclone. As to its intensity and its shape, and where it will hit. There's still some significant uncertainties about that. We'll examine that in a moment. And this is another look at the Western Pacific area of interest. The floater from the 413 website centers it quite close to Palau, actually. I'm not sure whether that is it, but it is moving in general, all those clouds towards the northwest, but still no signs of any circulation, completely absent right now. Estimated wind speeds contained in this system about 30 miles per hour. Here's some really big storms over the United States right now, over Iowa mainly, and there was a tornado warning a little bit earlier, and there's still quite a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings already today. We're starting live coverage with an automated stream at about 8 a.m. local time, Central Daylight Time. Looking at some wide shots there, and this is the Caribbean Sea as well. A few little blow-ups of cloud in over the Bahamas actually, and also down towards South America. And this is the East Atlantic region off the coast of Africa. There is a little bit of disturbance going on down there, pretty usual for this time of year, but no real tropical waves yet. And this is the Eastern Pacific, showing those two little systems there as well. I must say the one on the left looks quite decent actually, but no real signs that they'll become a tropical cyclone. And this is the Western Pacific, looking at a wide view once again, where you can see that system, and the Philippines, a little bit of rain here and there, mainly further west and in northern Luzon. And this is the Bay of Bengal region once again as well. A little bit of a glitch in that satellite imagery, but most of the precipitation today is concentrated further south in southern Thailand and parts of Myanmar, and also along the coast of Vietnam, central and southern Vietnam that is. Sea surface temperatures in the Eastern Pacific look pretty decent and still increasing, over 30 degrees in quite a few spots south of Mexico and the Gulf of Tehuantepec. Moving out to sea, those temperatures gradually fade away. In the Atlantic, the Gulf of Mexico is almost completely sealed up. It's 26 degrees Celsius isotherm now, looking pretty good. Off the coast of Florida as well, temperatures really increasing there, and a few spots along Cuba now getting above 30 degrees Celsius. Western Pacific looks like this. The South China Sea is still the hot area. The east of the Philippines there, really increasing there as well. Hong Kong just about to get some 26 degrees Celsius waters there for a little second. And this is the Bay of Bengal, very warm waters there, up to 32 degrees, and in one or two spots a little bit more than that, and that would be directly ahead of this potential cyclone. Southwest Indian Ocean off the coast of Kenya, where Cyclone Ialy is, temperatures 28 to 29 degrees Celsius. They'll drop just a little bit as it gets closer to the coast. And in the Australian region, it's almost running out of 28 degrees Celsius waters there, or 29 is actually the deep red, but still some areas of decent temperatures off Australia, but no systems to take advantage of it. And a similar story in the South Pacific, with those temperatures fading away now from New Caledonia, 26 degrees, and around Fiji, still looking good in the Northern Islands there. Well, compared to average, that gives you a bit of a better measure. This is what it's looking like right now. The Atlantic, the deep areas of the Atlantic, they're extremely above average, up to 4 degrees actually. The Eastern Pacific still has a hit and miss area there, but the main area of the East Pac looking good. And the Western Pacific is generally a little bit above average. Bay of Bengal is another big area to spot there, with this potential cyclone tracking over 3 or even 4 degrees Celsius above average waters. For Ialy, it's around 3 degrees as well. They only one little spot there off the coast. Looking at sea surface temperature, oceanic heat content, the Eastern Pacific getting a few hot spots there, especially further east. The Western Pacific, a big one there off the coast of the Philippines and extending further eastwards towards Guam. In the Atlantic, it's still looking quite similar to what we were looking at yesterday. Still the areas that most energy are off Jamaica, and a few spots near Cuba, south of Puerto Rico, and near the Lesser Antilles. But that will increase. So let's take a look at the computer models. The GFS for the next 5 days actually initializes Ialy as a hurricane strength storm, although only over the pressure of 996 millibars. Not so sure about that. As you saw there, it very quickly vanishes and dies away, but it does make landfall there by the looks of things in northern Kenya. I think that is just north of Mombasa, so central Kenya actually, for that potential landfall, and some of its remnants could get north of the equator. In the Bay of Bengal, looking out for this area of interest then. The GFS of course will develop it, because it usually does. There it is, becoming a substantial cyclone, getting to hurricane equivalent strength, and then skimming the coast of Myanmar and making a run for the Ganges River Delta region of Bangladesh as a very powerful, well, relatively powerful storm there. Looks like a Category 2 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, maybe even a push towards Category 3, but looks like a 2 there. In the Western Pacific, looking out for the other Invest 93W. Well, there it is, developing into a tropical storm quite soon now, only within 48 hours, I think, on the GFS. Other models are getting with it as well, even the Euro, although the European model has it as on the weak side, but still a tropical depression, so that counts in our percentages. And perhaps we'll want to increase those percentages more later on, because by 72 hours it makes it a close approach to the Philippines, and within that 5-day period it starts to turn away and becomes a really strong typhoon once again. Looking at rainfall expectations in the Indian Ocean here, you can see that those rainfall amounts really get quite sky high in relation to this cyclone, probably in tandem with monsoonal showers. But really looking at eastern Myanmar there, getting the brunt of the heavy rainfall, with some areas possibly getting up close to 40 inches or 1,000 millimeters of rain. Looking along the coast of western Myanmar, where the storm will track closest to, we could be looking at 18 to 20 inches of rain there as well, 500 millimeters, and another area off the southern tip of India there getting some significant amounts as well. So in the longer range, that storm looks like it stalls up quite a bit and eventually dies away in the foothills there of northern Bangladesh and possibly into that area of India in the northeast there, but nothing else comes after that, obviously. But certainly if that storm did stall over that area, it would cause tremendous amounts of rain and flooding concerns. That's the day 5 to 10 period there, moving northwestwards initially and then turning northeast. The Western Pacific typhoon there, a fairly strong one. The GFS peaks sit in the upper 940s in millibars, which could make it a Category 3 storm. Then it moves northeastwards, clipping just east of Tokyo, Japan, and then continuing northeastwards and eventually through the northern islands there, as it ends up getting towards the Kamchatka Peninsula. Still quite powerful by the time it gets up there. Of course, that is still quite speculative. We've seen it all before, and it might just, future runs might just take it away again. Scan the barcode and that will take you through to the Force 13 merch store, where you can take a look at all of our items as well as our full season and individual storm animations, and are still waiting for Hode t-shirts. Absolutely still there as well, because we're still waiting. In the Scilly range, there's really very little to talk about, actually. There's no signals in the Atlantic or Eastern Pacific. That we saw one yesterday on the GFS, of course. Well, that one's gone again, as you'll often see in times like this. But this is a large cyclone that eventually tries to form in the South China Sea there in the first week, near the end of the first week of June. So that's the only thing we're really looking at in the long range. So we're really hoping that these storms form in the Northern Hemisphere right now. Otherwise, we'll be on to a pretty much uncharted territory with regards to no systems active in the Northern Hemisphere so far. It was a completely different scenario on this day in 1980, when we, for a brief period, I think we had 4 tropical cyclones active at the same time. We had Dom, which turned extratropical today, Ellen, which was weakening as a Category 1 typhoon after an earlier peak at Category 2, and we had the formation of Forrest and Georgia, which were both tropical storms right now. So it was a party in the Western Pacific on this day, and I don't think I've seen anything quite like that so early on in the year. 4 tropical cyclones active. Back to today, if we don't get a Northern Hemisphere cyclone today, it will be 97 years since the latest start to the Northern Hemisphere season. The irony is that Cyclone Ialy might do it for them. I doubt it. The first name in the Atlantic this year is Alberto. In the Eastern Pacific it's Aletta, and in the Central Pacific, of course, next is Hone. In the Western Pacific, a Winyar is coming up next. In the North Indian Ocean it will be Rimal, and that appears to be getting closer and closer. Of course, if we don't get another storm in another 4 days, the Northern Hemisphere will go even further back to our next latest cyclone formation, over 100 years. In the Australian region, the next name is Robin. The Southwest Indian Ocean, it's Jeremy, which should have formed earlier, I think. And in the South Pacific, it will be Peter.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.